So I was told around the age of 12, 13 years old, and at the time my knowledge on HIV and the world in general was very limited. And being told I had HIV, um, I wasn't too sure whether to be angry or upset or how to feel because I didn't really know what it was in enough detail to have a positive or negative reaction to it. It was my mom who told me, and she just came out and she said, this is what this is, and you have this, and kind of going to the hospital so frequently made sense to me, and it kind of brought us a bit even closer, and a lot of things that I did in the past made a lot more sense.
There's a common experience of difficulty in naming HIV to children. Children around the world live with HIV and do not know the name of their health condition. It's important to question, why is HIV treated so differently from other chronic illnesses which children live with, and also to consider the family experience of HIV and why this is important to understand. In this different treatment, is there a risk that professionals also can unwittingly support ongoing stigma around HIV? How can we change the future experience for children growing up with HIV?
Historically, that was left very late. Parents were terrified about the child knowing, and also for us, it was all quite new as well. And so I think our mistake was to agree with the parents, and the young people learnt quite late. Our experience was the parents just dreaded the day where the child was going to learn they've got HIV. So they had years and years of worry, whereas I think if we can actually in lots of ways take that from them, say actually, this is what we do, this is what we've learnt and we think is best practice, and it's easier for the child to learn early on and grow up with that knowledge, and actually it takes a lot of pressure off the parents. And I think if the professionals are comfortable and confident about talking about HIV with the children, with their parents, then the parents are comfortable as well. Any new child, we start right from the beginning. So yes, if they're only a baby, they'll have no understanding, but we're saying immediately to the parents, actually this is our approach. We'll keep talking about HIV openly, but actually once the child's 5, 6, 7, we'll address that more directly with them, explain more what it means, and then over the years keep explaining what it means to them as they're older.
It's common for most children under the age of 12 to not know that they have HIV. As such, children experience a disclosure of their HIV status at some point, typically in mid-childhood. Although this practice developed from a desire to protect children from what's perceived as distressing and difficult information, it also supports ongoing fear and misunderstandings about HIV. The underlying message to the child, inevitably, is that HIV is something bad. It's so bad we couldn't tell you about it when you were younger.
To encourage families and parents to be as open and straightforward as possible, and to answer as straightforwardly as possible the questions about HIV that might arise. Parents often worry that there are going to be some very frank questions about HIV from quite young children. Actually, they don't often happen. The questions are more likely to be, why am I taking this medication and you're taking this medication and my sister isn't? And there can be some very easy answers to that that children will accept. And what we find is that the young people find it very difficult to name the words HIV. They talk about my condition, my situation, my illness, but they don't ever name it. And the way we think about this, the way we've considered it, is that actually saying the words HIV has such an emotional impact on them. It means something often quite negative. It's underpinned by a sense of being stigmatized, of being othered, of being less valuable. So from the age of 12, they've already been conditioned, in a sense, to not name the words HIV.
We need to understand that HIV is frequently a family experience. Many parents and carers feel very anxious about their children knowing about their HIV. They worry how they'll cope with this, they worry that they may tell people outside of the family, and they fear the impact of stigma upon the family if other people hear. It can also be difficult for families because it can require them to have to respond to questions from children about how they acquired HIV. Maintaining secrecy within families around HIV produces a lot of stress, remaining fearful all the time that the child's going to find out the truth.
When a parent or a carer is worried about the child knowing they have HIV, we do address their concerns and just say that, you know, every parent and carer says pretty much the same things that they're worried about. One, that they're worried the child may blame them, which is extremely rare. So we say we can't guarantee it 100% they won't, but it's very rare. And even if it were to happen, the child still needs to know, but we would be supporting them through that and saying there isn't, you know, any blame. Our approach is very positive. We're not trying to burden them with heavy information. We're actually just speaking the truth and actually also being very positive that this isn't going to stop them doing things, that we're actually giving a lot of positive information and that we think it's very beneficial if they learn early on their diagnosis. They can ask questions. We can correct any misconceptions or incorrect information they've heard. They're always worried that the child may talk to somebody else and then the child could be teased or stigmatised. So we tell them that most children have the ability to understand that there is some information they keep private, and that we will help them do that.
When thinking about care and support for children, it's really important to place the child at the centre of your concern. They should be the central consideration in any decision making. Children have rights as individuals. If you have a responsibility for their care and their support, you have a duty to protect their rights. It's very important to think about how the experience of growing up with HIV can be normalised. Why is HIV treated so differently from other chronic illnesses of childhood? And can professionals play an important role in addressing the stigma associated with HIV by having more open and honest conversations about HIV in their direct work with children?
And then I think it's coming from the confidence of the workers actually to just maybe try and address their fears. What is it that they're so worried about? What do they think will go wrong if the child learns their diagnosis? So directly address their fears. And also I think it is helpful to get people to look at their practice and see, just like we did, we were supporting that stigma really by giving the impression that HIV was too difficult for even us to talk about to the children. And so we're giving them a very mixed message. So when we tell them their diagnosis, we're saying you'll be fine, it's not going to stop you doing anything. On the other hand, we haven't spoken to them about it until they're quite old. So I think you do have to question that approach. And it's to try and look at, you know, what's in the best interests of the child and really how we can normalise things now. We don't really want to be treating HIV differently from other illnesses. Of course we want to address, you know, parents' fears and support them, and that support's really important. But I think we don't want the children to lose out. Their needs should still be met and they need to know about their diagnosis in the same way that a child with cancer or with asthma needs to know. But certainly from experience I can say that I think the parents where we've approached it very early on with young children and carried them through that, I think they feel very comfortable. And I also think it's improved their ability to talk to their child themselves.
So naming HIV to children is a child rights issue. This is their health information, they have a right to it. Being more honest and open about HIV encourages conversations about HIV to take place. Professionals who are open and honest can model this approach to parents and carers. Children benefit from opportunities to talk about HIV, and this needs to develop as they grow older. Having supportive and open conversations about HIV at home and also in the clinic is a critical aspect of their care.
Yeah, so I found out just after I left year 6, so I was about 11. But because I didn't take meds, it did sort of explain why I went to hospital so often, but I'd sort of assumed that everyone went to hospital every 3 months. Because I didn't see myself as sick or ill because I didn't take meds. I took vitamins, but everyone takes vitamins, so that wasn't really a big deal. But I think the But I think for me it was that I was like you, I didn't really know how to feel because I didn't understand what HIV really was. So I was just like, I didn't see it as, oh, it's a death sentence, oh, it's life-changing or anything. I was just like, oh, okay. I think the first time I can clearly remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm HIV positive, was when Comic Relief came on TV, or Children in Need, like one of those like charity programs, and they do their like bog standard, we're going to film in Africa and show AIDS ridden sort of area, and I saw these people like dying on the street and stuff, and then I was like, oh snap, I'm HIV positive. That was like the first thought that came into my head. But I think because we didn't really talk about it at home, I think for the first 3 months of knowing my status, it didn't really mean anything to me.
If you're going to tell a child their status, I think have the right information ready, because as a child, when I was told, all I was told was like, you're HIV positive, and that was it. And then I had to find out everything about HIV through the internet and stuff. And with the internet, you sort of just, you hear all the negative, you don't really see what it actually is and what how you live with it and all the actual details about it.
Know when your child is ready to know about their status. When it gets to an older age, then they will take it the wrong way because they might have been told the wrong information, and it might basically hurt them or distract them emotionally or mentally or physically. So with me, I was told at 12, but then because I'm quite clued on about a lot of stuff, I sort of knew myself and what to do and just sort of give support and have family support.